Welcome, wrestling fans, to AWMania. I'm your host, JP. This is our first ever show, episode, whatever you want to call it. Today we're going to be discussing Monday Night Raw. We're going to be recapping everything that occurred yesterday on the inaugural Monday Night Raw, the go-home show of Monday Night Raw before their big pay-per-view Elimination Chamber. If most of you weren't aware that there is a pay-per-view coming up this Sunday, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure there's quite a few people that are not aware that there is a pay-per-view coming this Sunday. But there is. It is the Elimination Chamber. 1 week following the Saudi Arabia show, Super Showdown, we're heading straight into another pay-per-view. And after the Chamber, it's full sail ahead to WrestleMania 36, potentially. Depending whether or not the coronavirus gets worse. This has been a topic of discussion lately. Before I get into discussing and recapping Monday Night Raw, let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's address it. The coronavirus has indeed been sweeping throughout North America, throughout the entire world, from Iran to Australia to China, as we know, some places in Canada. United States of America has experienced also quite a few cases of the coronavirus. We know what's happened in Italy. We know what's going on throughout the world. And as of recently, 1 or 2 days ago, it was officially announced that there were 2 cases of the coronavirus in Tampa Bay, Florida. For those unaware, WrestleMania is indeed taking place this year in Tampa Bay. That is going to cause some problems, some issues, and some concerns for the WWE staff and roster, and for even the fans that are attending this event. Stephanie has said that if it comes to it and we have to, we will postpone WrestleMania if it's necessary. But as of this moment forward, they're pushing forward with the event. They've also held a talent meeting yesterday on Monday Night Raw, backstage, to address the concerns with the coronavirus, to let everyone know, listen, if you're not feeling comfortable, we understand. At the same time, take the necessary precautions to ensure your health, your safety, and your hygiene is in order, so that you don't contract this disease that's going around right now, this virus or this epidemic, this plague, whatever the media is spinning it as. WWE has informed their talent that they understand their concerns, and at the same time, they are doing everything they can to make sure that it doesn't it doesn't affect their talent. With all of that being said, we got to take into consideration that WrestleMania at this point is going forward. There is no official announcement of potential postponement or cancellation, regardless of what you may read online of random people just posting and suggesting that, oh, Mania's canceled. It's not. As of now, as of today, as of March 3rd, 2020, WrestleMania is not canceled. If WrestleMania gets canceled March 10th, March 15th, March 20th, don't come back and be like, hey, you were wrong. Today's March 3rd. It's not canceled. May it be canceled or may it be postponed in the near future. We'll see what happens. So what is AWMania? What is this podcast, this channel, this interview, this recap segment, etc., whatever the new gen is calling it? What is this all about? Well, it's simple. I'm going to be talking pro wrestling. For the time being, it's going to be specifically directed towards WWE, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and their pay-per-views. Oh, and NXT. Sorry, I forgot about NXT. And NXT. On top of that, I'm going to also be covering AEW Dynamite and the AEW pay-per-views. That is what the main focus for the time being is going to be. This is what AWMania is going to be focusing on for the time being. So as I said, let's dive into this. Let's dive into the Monday Night Raw recap. And let's just talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw. Look, I've been a fan of this sport, this sports entertainment. I've been a fan of pro wrestling since Stone Cold Steve Austin stunned Santa Claus. So yes, I grew up on the Attitude Era. I was generally never really that big of a fan of Hulk Hogan's era, but that's neither here or there. It's just a matter of opinion. So I put in a lot of time in watching pro wrestling, and what I like to do is I like to dissect the storylines and the direction that the WWE is heading, and at the same time address the direction that I feel that they should be heading rather than the one that they're currently heading towards. I also try to break down storylines and predict what's going to happen in the future. So let's talk about Monday Night Raw. This is what we're here for. Let's recap Monday Night Raw. How did this all break down? How did this all start off? Well, we're coming off Super Showdown, last week's pay-per-view, the Saudi Arabia show. We're coming off Brock Lesnar's big win or demolishment or whatever you want to call it, destruction of Ricochet. Brock's big challenge at this pay-per-view, or whatever excuse they could use to get him on this pay-per-view to draw some attention, was against Ricochet. There was barely any build-up to this fight, to this match. The storyline was it's a little guy going against the big guy, and he's going to prove the world wrong by defeating Brock Lesnar. We never really believe that Brock's going to lose to them. They're just there for Brock to win and to move on and to move to his next challenger. There's no purpose behind it. It was just due to the fact that we're headed to Mania. Let's skip Chamber for a second, right? Because Brock's not going to compete at the Elimination Chamber the same way Goldberg's not going to compete at the Elimination Chamber. Not the shit on this event, but the truth is this is a 2-bit pay-per-view. Just there to, I guess, set up potential WrestleMania matches that are not officially or were not long-term and they're booking. And I'm going to get to that because there's like one specific match that is taking place on the Chamber that makes absolutely no sense, specifically from a storyline standpoint, but we'll get to that later. So the show kicks off with a recap of what happened at Super Showdown. You see Brock's monumental victory over Ricochet, where he defeated him in under 4 minutes, I believe. He smashed him. I don't think Ricochet got one offensive maneuver on Brock. He charged at him, tried to, I think, drop kick him. Brock just punted him and then beat the holy hell out of him. Suplex, clubbing forearm to the back, shoulder strikes, suplex, F5, 1, 2, 3. That was Brock's match. So Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come out to kick off Monday Night Raw. To no one's surprise, Brock Lesnar does what he normally does. He stands there while Paul Heyman gives a magnificent speech, dialogue, and he's so good on the mic, Paul Heyman, that you would want to listen to him talk almost all the time, if not every time. There's never a moment when Paul's talking where you just feel like chanting what, boring, or anything for that matter. You're focused on the words that Paul's saying because each one is either a spoiler or it's a potential segue to a storyline that may come about in the future. But in this case, all Paul did is he came out and he repeated the same thing, and that was that Brock was going to completely dismantle Drew McIntyre come WrestleMania time. So now we're 100% pushing to WrestleMania. Paul Heyman, Brock's not competing like I said, at the Chambers, so we're 100% behind Brock, pushing him forward to the Mania. It's Mania season now, so Brock may be appearing more or less on Monday Night Raws than he was before, because we got to get this big push. We're going to Mania. So Paul Heyman's giving the speech on how Drew McIntyre, you stand no chance. You're going to be defeated the same way Ricochet has been defeated, the same way everyone else in the past has been defeated. There's not a thing you could do about it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as 2 + 2. Brock is going to lift you up and hit you with an F5, and that's it. And look, that is a possibility. In my mind, that is not the right direction that the WWE should go in. This should be a hard-fought battle of two men, and this should rightfully so be the main event of WrestleMania. At this point, we don't know anymore what main events Mania. I remember in the past, whoever won the Rumble, it was guaranteed that they were in the WrestleMania main event. And now, look at this. We've got 2 Royal Rumbles, and there's not even a guarantee that any of those 2 individuals, and the women and the men's side, are going to main event WrestleMania. It just guarantees them a title shot. At the end of the day, you compete in a 30-man Rumble or Women Rumble to win a guaranteed title shot. For what? What's the point? What's the point of even competing in this 30-man match? To say that you beat 30 other men, which you probably didn't, because if you come in at number 30 or 28 or 25, you definitely didn't start with a full roster of 30 people in the Rumble. To me personally, the Royal Rumble, if the guy's not or the girl's not going to compete in the main event, there's honestly no point. Because we've reached scenarios where Roman Reigns can just come out and say, Goldberg, Me and you, Mania, it's happening. That's it. Roman was the last guy in the Rumble to be eliminated by Drew McIntyre. And I guess that gives him the right to get a title shot against Goldberg. I guess that's what happens. Or if you beat Baron Corbin, you're getting a guaranteed title shot. Maybe I missed something along those lines. So, just my point is, it used to be you won the Rumble, you got a guaranteed title shot, and then we went in the direction of if you won the Rumble, you got a guaranteed title shot at whichever brand you chose, followed by an Elimination Chamber match that took place to crown the next contender for the Raw or SmackDown brand for their title. Now at this point, that doesn't even happen no more, with the exception of the Women's Chamber that's taking place at Mania. So, anyways, Paul comes out, gives that speech like I was saying. Drew McIntyre can't take it no more. He comes out, enters the ring, face off with Brock Lesnar. He gets in Brock's face. Brock is laughing at him. He doesn't take him seriously whatsoever. Brock feels he could just completely dismantle Drew McIntyre in a heartbeat with the snap of his fingers. He doesn't even feel any fear when staring Drew McIntyre in the eyes. So Brock being Brock and being the typical heel, WWE heel for that example, turns his back on Drew McIntyre. He's like, you know what? We're not going to fight tonight. We're going to wait till Mania. I'm out. F you. You know, I don't need you. I'm going to beat you anyways. We don't have to do it today. I only fight on pay-per-views, and I'm a big money guy. So Brock's heading out. He's about to step through the ropes. Drew McIntyre turns his back, obviously, to look at the fans and embrace them. And in typical heel fashion, Brock Lesnar comes back to the ropes and begins his ascent and begins to head towards Drew McIntyre to, I guess, assault him or to hit him with an F5 or to attack him. But to Brock's surprise, Drew was prepared and hits him with a Claymore kick, leaving Brock completely flatlined on the ground. Drew makes his exit after hitting the Claymore kick, which leaves Brock selling the Claymore kick for a good 2-3 minutes. Brock sold that pretty good. It was as if he got shot with a shotgun, and he was lying there and he couldn't believe it, and he was all discombobulated, couldn't even stand. He was woozy. It was as though he had a concussion. So Brock's selling this Claymore kick. Paul helps him up. They're walking to the back. They're heading up the ramp. Brock Lesnar is pissed off and embarrassed at the fact that Drew McIntyre got the better of him tonight. But to Brock's surprise, it didn't end there. Drew McIntyre came back through the curtain and hit Brock with another Claymore kick on the entrance ramp, leaving Brock at this point just completely unconscious. And Drew McIntyre to look up at the Mania sign, to look down at Brock Lesnar, and to feel as confident as he'll ever be, and to give him some momentum actually heading into Mania. And Drew needs some momentum, because we can't have your typical Brock Lesnar storyline. Paul Heyman comes out, spoiler alert, I'm going to beat him. We've seen that thousands of times. It's the same old shit, is what I hate to say. At the end of the day, Brock's a beast. We know that. He's been champ for quite some time. And if you really want to think about it, over the last couple of years, your champions at WWE have been basically Brock Lesnar. You've had your runs of maybe 4 to 6 months where it was either Kofi Kingston, Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. But at the end of the day, it always came back to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is going to be headlining or main eventing or in a title picture. Brock Lesnar has main event in Mania for the last 4 years in a row with the title. He wrestled Goldberg, won the title from Goldberg. He wrestled Roman Reigns the first time before Seth Rollins cashed in his money. When Seth Rollins cashed in his money in the bank. He wrestled Roman Reigns again, where he defeated him. He wrestled Seth Rollins one-on-one last year at WrestleMania 35, where he lost the title. So for the last 4 years, Brock has been coming in as the champion. And Brock, so far, is batting 50% when it comes to defending and winning that, and retaining or winning that title, or winning his match at Mania. So far, he's 50% in world title matches at WrestleMania. Won 2, lost 2. Beat Goldberg and beat Roman Reigns. This year, we need something new. We need something fresh. And this should be a battle of two big hosses. This is two big men. Drew McIntyre, he's had a rough start, right? He came back to NXT, won the NXT World Heavyweight Championship, and was then injured. had to relinquish the title. He was off television for a good several months before officially coming back on the main roster. And then he was just underutilized on the main roster. It was unfortunate to see this because Drew was coming in and he would win some, lose some. He looked goofy. He at one point was teamed up with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph is teamed up with almost everyone on the entire roster at this point. It's becoming ridiculous. Then he became the Legend Killer, and then he teamed up with not Braun Strowman, but then he teamed up with Baron Corbin and the rest of the Brady Bunch. So Drew McIntyre has truly been mismanaged at this point, up until his Royal Rumble victory, where now we've seen some progress. We've seen some push, and it's good to see that the company is backing Drew McIntyre. I think this Mania, it's got to be the Mania where we're putting the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, we're putting them to rest. We're officially going to be moving on and bringing up new stars. That's what we got to do. The business is, I don't want to say dying because it's not. The ratings have been improving for Raw. For SmackDown, they've been high. But in terms of actual show quality, Raw, as of late of the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks, they've been progressing. Since Paul Heyman has had a lot more influence in the business on the Raw side, and same with Bruce Pritchard on the SmackDown side. We've already seen an improvement in terms of storytelling, aside from the Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin bullshit. Besides Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns, we've seen an improvement on all sides and all fronts. But that's not saying much. We need to get the talent over, and I think this WrestleMania should be the Mania where we focus on getting talent over. On getting new talent over specifically, and we'll get through that in a bit. So I think the right direction for this is let's keep building Drew McIntyre as this potential, I don't want to say beast slayer, but as a potential true talent that can match Brock Lesnar's intensity, power, and strength. Someone who's not afraid of Brock. I know we've seen Brock and Braun Strowman, we've seen Brock and Goldberg, two men that are definitely not afraid of Brock Lesnar, but Drew McIntyre has the potential to be the same, in the same boat as both of these men, and to actually overcome him. So we'll see what happens in Mania.